So I think I was in the environment of entrepreneurship. My parents are super hardworking, they have good work ethic, and they were really my role models for just my entrepreneur spirit, I feel. So my dad had cancer right after my sister was born, and I'm the youngest of three. So my mom worked nights while my dad watched my sister and all that stuff. So that I think really changed the dynamic of like what they wanted for their life, because I mean, if anyone has cancer, you know it's a stressful time. So my dad worked for an electrical contractor at the time. They were super poor with the medical bills of just having a baby, plus then now having cancer. So my dad actually told my mom, like, I never want to be poor again. So he worked super, super hard to, you know, get to a really good spot. After he was kind of done working for that one employer, he started his business, I think, with $500. Don't quote me, but wow. He started his own electrical business and just really worked his way up.
That's bootstrapping, Mindy.
It's crazy.
Wow.
I probably don't say it enough, but I'm super proud of my parents for like how much they've overcome and everything. So he started a business. I think it was like a couple years before I came to be, and so really growing up, my parents' business was my daycare. So I spent a lot of time at the electrical business and at the shop. I pretended to play business. Like instead of playing Barbies, I pretended to play business. Having my own
really
business.
Got started in an early age, Mindy.
Yeah, I spun around on office chairs. I emptied garbages. I cleaned out work trucks. And this is all, you know, super young age of just always being around a business setting. I mean, even when I was old enough to be professional, I guess, I was answering the phones and all of that. So yeah, I guess just growing up in that environment, that's just what you always see and what you're used to. So yeah. But my first fake business that I really started.
You can even do that in air quotes.
Fake business. It was, I mean, it was called Mindy's Cafe Au Thé. It was a really cool breakfast place in my family's kitchen. I created a menu with crayon, and there was a chicken on it, and I still have it. My mom has it. So my mom ate a lot of omelets growing up and supported my enthusiasm and my customer service of having Mindy's Cafe Au Thé. I was a very odd kid, I think. She's probably like, what is wrong with this girl? But she was just always really supportive of my randomness. My first real business, I guess, started when I was 18. I was off to college. I started Project Mint, which was, I designed websites for small businesses and nonprofits who still had like 1990s looking websites, just because as a small business owner, you don't have a lot of money to spend on the digital world and advertising. So for my experience, I went and redesigned websites for all these companies and nonprofits. So fun fact, I did actually win my very first court case at 19. One of my clients did not pay for their invoice. I have my script here. My dad told me that, I did the effort, I delivered to the scope. Like, I deserve to be paid for that. So he's like, take him to small business claims court. And I did, and I won. And oh man, I was so nervous. Like, how I'm prepared today, I was so prepared for being in front of a judge. And I had all of my invoices, my email reminders, all that kind of stuff. And
somehow none of this surprises me.
It was an easy win because they were a no-show. So, like, I won.
But we don't have to share that part. We'll edit that part out. Like there was like 10 people in the, They had their attorneys and
okay. It was. I wore a suit. It was really professional and great. But yeah. So that was kind of a learning very early on too. Is that it's not personal. It's business.
Yeah.
And then since then, I've had a 13-year career in project management. I worked in Minneapolis at different ad agencies, and I worked my way up to director of project management, which was my career goal. And then, that's kind of the story.
And here we are.
Now. So my husband is from Ames, so we would come down all the time to visit his parents. And the first time we came down, he brought me to Cooks Emporium. His family has shopped at the store for 30 years. Like, it's their go-to place to always buy gifts for his mom, and so his dad always took him there. So The first time he brought me there, I actually said, oh my gosh, if this place goes for sale, we should buy it. Just randomly, just saying, because it's a cute store and a cute downtown, and it was just very special. And I've always wanted to own my own storefront, but living in the Twin Cities, it's very expensive to just randomly start up a business.
So it kind of seemed like out of touch.
Yeah, it was just always a dream.
Yeah.
So 5 years later, after the first time visiting, Patrick called the owner of Cooks Emporium. And
Patrick's your husband?
Patrick's my husband, sorry, yep. Called just out of the blue and just asked what her exit strategy was. She was in her late 70s, early 80s, and she was ready to retire. She just said she's happy to entertain a conversation. So a couple weeks later, we went down, visited with her, kind of talked about timing. She wanted to finish a full fiscal year before handing off the business. So I think, it just kind of happened so fast, I guess.
Was there like, from your thinking, did she have a plan, or it was just that you were proactive in reaching out and saying, hey, I'm interested, and then then the wheels started turning for her about, oh, okay, maybe I can sell this.
I think I feel like she felt like she had an obligation to keep the store. Just because it's been in the community for so long, it's such a staple downtown Ames. So I don't think she really had an exit strategy. I think it was just a perfect match that we randomly contacted her at that time. I didn't know Patrick was doing this, by the way.
Okay. This is all behind the scenes.
This is behind the scenes. I had a few stressful weeks with a crazy project I was working on, and he called her out of the blue. I got home one day from work, literally had my coat, backpack, everything on, and he's just like, hey, want to buy a kitchen store? And
of course.
So like, oh, okay. And so we, talked about it. But yeah, it wasn't anything he discussed with me previously, but he just remembered 5 years prior. I was like, wow, this place is amazing.
Did you take a look ask for financials? Did you have an accountant look things over? What was that process like to know, okay, what are we getting ourselves into? How do we evaluate or value the business?
That was one thing. We were able to look at financials. You can tell she was very tired of running the business, especially, being in 70s, 80s, we looked at her financials. It was actually not doing so great the last couple years. So I think timing-wise just really worked out on helping her out with that. We were able to run the numbers, and she's just an amazing person too. So she was easy to work with. We were able to work out a good retirement plan for her, what the purchase price of the building was, what we agreed on. We looked at the inventory that she currently had in stock. And we just wanted to make sure it was fair and that she was going to be in a good position. And the big thing was too, she didn't want a lump sum of money because of all the taxes that would have to be accrued with it.
So she would have capital gains on the front end.
Yeah, so it was kind of like a payment process throughout a couple years to at least, slim it out a little bit. But we did rely on a lawyer, one of our friends and business owners in Ames. We talked with him about the acquisition process, making sure we had contracts in place, so everything at least was legit and good to go. But yeah, it was just financially, we had a lot of money saved up just from working really hard in the Twin Cities too, and it was just a crazy whim that we decided to do. And so February 2018 is when we signed the paperwork. I kind of made the mistake of letting my employer know that I might buy this kitchen store, but it's going to be a couple months just because she wants to finish her fiscal year. And so he found my replacement, which is the person I replaced actually, and got her all trained in, and then I kind of wasn't needed anymore. So I called Marg and just said, hey, do you need some holiday help? So she was like, sure, and that time frame of me being an employee to me owning it was so valuable because I got to work alongside her, how she ran the business. I got to understand the process because I've never ran I've never even been a manager at a retail store. So it was very, very great to be able to just work with her and figure things out. My first day, though, working as just an employee was Small Business Saturday.
Oh my goodness.
So I I literally just like
that had to be intense.
Jumped in. I didn't know the POS system. I didn't know, like, I only knew the store from me just walking around as a customer.
You were a customer.
But yeah, first day, Small Business Saturday.
There's a lot to unpack there in terms of, I think, what are really good sort of learning lessons. You know, one is maybe if you are doing some sort of acquisition, can you build in as part of the acquisition some time to spend with the owner? I mean, I think that's really brilliant to understand all the sort of nuances of the business that as a customer or falling in love with the store that you're just never going to sort of see unless you're doing it firsthand. So I think having that sort of like baton, a time period for the baton toss.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is really interesting is the financing component to it, which obviously like business acquisition can be difficult to finance, but I think people look at it as, you know, I need to take on a loan to buy it like outright versus the understanding for many that their business is their retirement. And so kind of like approaching it as almost like an annuity where they're getting it over time, which is then saving them on the tax side. So I think like just thinking through different acquisition strategies. So I'm really glad that you mentioned kind of like how you approach the financing. It was really a win-win for both the buyer and seller.
Yeah, because then she had a steady income for all those months because we paid monthly. And she had that, I think, for 2.5, 3 years, I can't remember.
Yeah.
So.
And maybe a lump sum or something.
And
on
a lump
the back
sum
end.
At the end. Yep. And we had like a down payment and all that stuff too. But it was nice too on our part because then our down payment wasn't as much either. So yeah, it was. It couldn't have worked out any better than it did. Like we were very fortunate on just the relationship we've had and I think it did help. I mean, you know, Patrick and his family's been shopping at the store for 30 years and like she knew them in the community and it wasn't just a random person. Yeah. But she knew that we loved the stores.
That's sort of the softer side of the acquisition, I think, is the trust from the seller's standpoint that this thing that I've built and is like my legacy is entrusted to someone that I know that's going to like sort of be a great caretaker and continue the legacy. One of the other, I think, interesting aspects of an acquisition of an existing business is thinking about the brand. Obviously, you kept the name, and so how did you equate in this process, or was that part of the discussion? It's easy to kind of monetize or like value inventory. It's a different one on the brand. Was there a dialogue around that?
So just legally wise, like I couldn't just take Cooks Emporium.
Correct.
Because it existed. So that's why we had to do a DBA, a doing business as. So we created our own LLC company and then we were doing a doing business as Cooks Emporium.
Okay.
Keeping the name was really important to me just because of the longevity of the business in the community. And I really wanted to do a lot of tributes to Tamar because I was so nervous that I would change things and she wouldn't like it and all of that, but she was really supportive. She was so excited to have young blood, and that's her words, like she was so excited to have young blood taking over the business and someone with energy to do it.